Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. And it's now time for our main topic of discussion for today. And we're going to be talking about the ramifications of the very successful National Youth Conference that took place yesterday, the 8th edition of the National Youth Conference. The event was organized in three sessions, very important sessions, engaging the Egyptian youth and Egyptian citizens, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has answered the questions of Egyptians that were submitted over social media. And to shed more light on this topic, we're most delighted to be joined here in the studio by Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, and he's the Vice President of the Global Youth Ambassadors team. First of all, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, thank you.
A very good morning to you, Dr. Ibrahim. And before going into details of the conference yesterday, the 8th edition of the National Youth Conference, let's first speak about the issue in general. I mean, this is the 8th edition of the National Youth Conference. How do you see the National Youth Conference as the platform or panel to have direct dialogue between the leadership, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and the youth? For example, yesterday there were 1,600 youth participating and having this direct contact with the head of state.
Okay, so the experience of World Youth Conference have started since the beginning of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Starts as the first conference was in Sharm el-Sheikh. It was the World Youth Forum, and it was its main mandate or its main goal was to provide a new innovative platform for youth to get engaged with the decision makers and high stake powers in the Egyptian government, including President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi himself, the presidential office, which and this sends a strong message of youth engagement and supporting youth power and youth innovation to support their country and try to come up with projects and initiatives to support their country. And over the years, we've seen the progress and improvement of such platform and its expansion. It included Africa, it included the Arab region, it included more youth, it discussed further topics. And now it's the 8th edition, so when we go up and see the bigger picture of the successive conferences, we can see how many youth networks have been established, how many youth have been empowered and engaged in many programs. We can see how many programs, including the presidential program, the Presidential African Leadership Program, other programs that were made by either the Ministry of Investment, the Ministry of Planning, the Ministry of Youth and Sports. So we can see how a small conference, or not small, one event made with a certain goal can change the mandate or change the aspect or point of view of a whole nation to be more youth inclusive. They say that a conference is a start of an event, is a start of something or an end of something, but it's not the main thing. So when you see, if you want to analyze a conference, you see what happened before and what's going to happen after.
Yes. This National Youth Conference, the 8th edition, the main topic was counter-terrorism and also efforts by the state to counter the spreading of lies over social media, over the internet, and so on and so forth. How do you see the choice of this main theme of the 8th edition of the National Youth Conference?
Well, it's a good choice. It's a world trend right now. Given that we are in 2019, we are in the era of social media, we are in an era of development of new ways that you can get news. You can get the news right now, the usage of TV and old school talk shows is getting old. People are relying more on YouTube, relying more on social media and websites to get their news and get their info. So when something like this new comes up in our lifestyle, we need to discuss it. We need to see how can we regulate it. because every new tool is a double-edged blade. It can be used to make a lot of good, and it can be used to make a lot of bad. And we cannot regulate it until we discuss it, we analyze it, we see how can we use it, how can we improve of it. And this is a world trend right now. The whole world is making discussions and conferences about it. We saw what happens with Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg in the US Congress. So discussing this crucial issue is very important at this time, given also that our nation is at a critical time. We face a lot of what we call fake news. We face a lot of what we call fabrications, unsupported claims, and we have to find a way to communicate through these new channels so we can improve of it and not have the bad aspects of it.
Amen to that. But regarding what you're saying, let's implement this on the ground and with the Egyptian people. Do you think, Dr. Ibrahim, that the Egyptians learned the lesson, as since what happened in 2011 with the so-called Arab Spring, we have been exposed to such rumors and lies and campaigns by those who were considered for once, around the Arab region as icons, but days after the others, we discovered how much they were lying to themselves even before than us. How do you see the mentality now of the Egyptian people? I mean, even the layman in the street who is not that much aware of the social media and internet, but with our common sense, we now know who is bad and who is good. If you want to elaborate on that, or if you agree with me.
Okay, of course I agree with you, but we have to face the problem that we are a country which has a hard poverty line, a high poor education, a high percentage of people with no education. So the awareness level of people is so low, which makes them subjected to be influenced by more rumors, by more fake claims, by more of these threats. So the solution is to raise awareness, is to create more awareness to people. You know, they say you fight fire with fire. So if there is a lot of, you say, organized claims, organized campaigns, organized fakings or fabrications, there has to be another counterpart of organized awareness, of organized supporting. How can you get news? How do you believe?
I'm going to return to that because this is a very important topic. But
yes, in light of our discussion about the very successful 8th edition of the National Youth Conference, Nile TV's senior correspondent, Taghreed Hussein, conducted an interview with Noha Bakr, a professor of political science at the American University in Cairo, at the site of the event where the National Youth Conference took place. Let's take a look, and we'll be back to resume our discussion here on The Breakfast Show.
The 8th National Youth Conference kicks off in Cairo, this important platform of communication between the president and the youth. A very successful experience, a very professional one here in Egypt. On the sidelines of the opening ceremony, we have all the honor and pleasure of having with us Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, Professor of Political Science. Professor Bakr, thank you so much for joining us here on Nile TV International exclusively. That important platform between the President and the youth, the 8th National Youth Conference, comes today as a foundation of communication and trust. And also our youth, our treasure, we're investing in them today.
First, let me thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be among you here. And yes, this is the 8th conference in addition to 2 further conferences that were on international level and 1 on regional level for African Arab youth. Yes, it's a very important platform where there are lots of sharing of ideas, thoughts. We've seen previous youth conferences where there were simulations also. All this enrich the capacity of youth, in addition to exchanging ideas, views. We see today 1,600 of our youth attending, sharing their ideas. We have 3 sessions today, The first session was about terrorism and combating terrorism, not only on security level, but also through development and through changing the religious extremist narrative. We will have another session about the effect of false exchange of information through internet. Then we will have asked the president to finalize, where youth will be having a chance. Previously through internet they've sent the questions or direct questions today. I'm very glad to see our youth here. I'm very glad to see in the promo their success stories on cultural, on sports level. It's as you've mentioned, a very important platform for communication.
Yes, very important platform that started really positively by narrating stories of success of the youth of Egypt today, which is really inspirational for others also to follow suit. We saw in the different specialities, we saw Farah in music, we saw our dear youth who represented the country on more than one platform in sports. So how do you see this, Professor Noha, as inspirational for other youth to follow suit?
It's inspirational, it's simulating, and also it comes within the context of empowering youth in general. We started by our constitution, where there are very important 3 articles in the constitution: Article 82 and Article 188 and Article 244 that empowered youth. This has resulted in 59 youth in our parliament. It has resulted in a number of youth that are now assisting the ministers and assisting the governors. All this comes within the context of also working to empower youth on health-wise. We're working on virus C. We're eliminating slums from our country. We are empowered. We have unemployment has decreased from 13% to 8%. All this is to provide youth with a better life within our agenda of 230 for development and the African agenda for development of 2063.
Yes, we're talking youth empowerment. We're also talking here youth and leadership, because when they find themselves sitting nearby decision makers, the president himself listens to them. Listening is really a key magical word at that platform.
Exactly, and it makes also, it empowers youth identity, Egyptian identity. They feel that they are listened to, they feel that they share in building their nation. All these are positive vibes to others who have not been attending or who will attend in the future. We see that there are lots of efforts done to invest youth, to include them in the society. Inclusion is very important. This is all working on developing our country.
Definitely, and also a matter of awareness, raising their awareness vis-a-vis the phenomena like combating terrorism today and more. Very important to engage them also politically. From the perspective of a professor of political science, how can we better engage the youth on the political sphere and raise their level of awareness?
First, what's happening from empowering their human capacity through the program that is offered to youth, through the reforms on the administrative level for those who are working, youth who are working in the government, through making their voice being heard. All this is for the best of our country, for the best. And I'd like to share also that gender issue is on the table. It's not only male. We've seen females on the panel. We've seen working on combating also violence against females. The president was very persistent on this. Sexual harassment, we were able to eradicate it, which was a very disturbing phenomena. Also, different laws to empower Egyptian women in general.
Definitely a very inspiring conference and platform today. I thank you very much, Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, Professor of Political Science, sharing with us with your positive ideas at this important platform. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That was Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, Professor of Political Science, sharing with us her ideas and positive vibes here at the 8th National Youth Forum. Stay tuned for more coming up on Nile TV.
شباب مصر هو أمل مصر، عشان أنتم الشباب اللي تقدروا بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى تغيروا الواقع إلى واقع أفضل بالجهد والإصرار والصبر.
المؤتمر الوطني للشباب
المنارة سبتمبر 2019
تحت رعاية السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية.
Welcome back, dear viewers. That was an interview conducted by Nile TV's senior correspondent Taghreed Hussein with Noha Bakr, professor of political science, shedding light on the important aspects that took place in the 8th edition of the National Youth Conference. And we're continuing now our discussion with our guest here in the studio, Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, the Vice President of the Global Youth Ambassadors. Doctor, speaking about the initiatives that were inaugurated by the or nurtured by the president and the government, one of which is the Presidential Leadership Program, and also I believe that the several ministries are working with the Egyptian youth on the ground in different domains. If you can shed more light on that.
Okay, first of all, the Egyptian Leadership Program was two programs. The first was the National Leadership Program. It's been on for, I guess, 3 or 4 years now. It's a very high prestigious program, have a very selective criteria, and a very, very intense curriculum and training, different aspects, gaining many skills, many life skills. And many of the graduates of these programs currently are working in ministries, working in governorates, working with high-stake decision makers. So it's a very successful program in transitioning, in youth transitioning from you can say the governmental transitioning to a more useful mindset or a more useful employment. The program escalated, it expanded and became the African Leadership Program. The program, I guess, the first edition of it, I guess it ended about a month ago or 2 months ago. It has 100 African leaders from different African countries, plus I guess 20 leaders from national leaders from Egypt. I got the chance to meet many of the African leaders. I had some connections with them. Some of them were global youth ambassadors too. And they have an amazing feedback about this program, that it's high prestigious. It's very comprehensive. It's very it's scientific data, and the trainers are very professional. They give a lot of data. The African Leadership Program they give them field visits. They get to visit the ministries. They get to sit with ministers and see how governance work. How does the government work? And they also got to have a private Q&A session with the president. These programs not only empower youth and create more leaders, more youth leaders, but also expands the sense of Egyptian influence over the African continent. And over the years, given that the presidential initiatives are youth engagement, the other ministries and government entities have to put in also programs that supports youth.
In addition to empowering women.
In addition to empowering women, yeah. But the part about empowering women is very essential, and the president gave it a lot of interest. And if you notice, in every speech the president gives, it's a priority to empower women, to fight violence against women. You can see now a lot of programs and projects run by all ministries in fighting violence against women and empowering women. You can see the quota now in the parliament. You can see many quotas in many governmental entities. You can see many incubators and accelerators supporting new and innovative businesswomen. Our team was pleasure to be a part of.
The head of the SMEs apparatus is Dr. Naveen Dema, and
yeah,
she's the one.
course.
She's doing such
Yes.
a great job. And yesterday, in specific, in asking the president was keen to say that Egypt and the government is keen to continue supporting the micro and macro projects. Many of them are run by women, as you've kindly
Exactly.
mentioned, giving them all the training, the finance, the facilities, and everything. If you want to elaborate also on that.
Yeah,
side.
exactly. The SME projects, there are so many SME projects, and they are not only in Cairo or Giza, they are all over,
Egypt. Yes.
all over Egypt. And the most group who are engaged in these programs and who benefit from these programs are women.
Yes.
You can see so many success stories of a family mother who had no previous work before, and now she runs her own business, she makes her own profit, and she funds her family. And this happens all over
Egypt.
All over Egypt. Yes. So back to what I was saying. I don't know.
Regarding empowering women, or what the youth are doing on the ground after being included into the presidential programs or the ministerial programs.
Yeah, I remember. Regarding empowering women, like last year, we were privileged to be a part of the, I guess, the 19th conference, international conference for African businesswomen. African and Arab business women. It was run by Business and Professional Women Association Global with Dr. Amani Asfour, if you know her, the president of the COMESA. And it was an amazing conference. It held a lot of success stories all over Egypt of businesswomen. So we can see the empowerment, the ramifications or the achievements of such programs on the ground.
And
to shed further light on this topic, we're also delighted to be joined over the phone by engineer Mohammed Farid, and he's a member of the CPVP. Engineer Mohammed, do you have my voice?
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. We're talking today the 8th National Youth Conference, a successful conference held under the auspices of the President, engaging Egyptians from all walks of life and also especially Egyptian youth. If you can tell us about how do you see this very successful event?
Well, first of all, it's as always, it's a very successful event. As always, the President talked honestly, clearly about the daily problems that the Egyptians face and showing clear vision of how we tackle our problems, about the future of Egypt, about the achievements that have been taking place and what's going to happen in the upcoming few months. So the youth conferences has been a very effective and very successful tool to engage the nation with the President in sharing the concerns of the nation, answering it clearly, honestly, and once again the President proved that openness, honesty, and transparency are his favorite methods of delivering messages and communicating with the nation.
yes, sir. Engineer Farid, the two main topics of yesterday, of the first and second session. The first, it was about terrorism and how it is a global threat and how Egypt is facing terrorism and maybe it's fighting terrorism on behalf of the whole world. And the second, it was about lies and rumors and fabrications. I see myself that the two subjects are correlated in a way. Spreading rumors is a kind of terrorism, and spreading fabrications is a kind of terrorism, and spreading awareness to fight both together is one of the main goals which we should work on. I'd like you, sir, to elaborate on that.
I fully agree with you. One other aspect that how the forces of evil are extremely creative in exploiting and abusing the modern day technology to achieve their evil purposes. So, for example, yesterday, a few hours before the conference, one of our neighbor countries have been attacked by drones. And these drones had an amazing, useful civilian usages, but forces of evil, the terrorists, used these blasts and turned it into a weapon of destruction, a weapon to spread fear among us people. And same thing goes to the social media. Social media, when it started to be a method to connect people together, to make them come closer, reach out for the friends you met all over through your life, but now it became a source of fake news, it became a source of spreading rumors, spread hatred, and destroying the very fabric of societies and countries and destabilization the nations. So both topics are intercorrelated, and how the forces of evil use it to destabilize nations and spread hatred amongst us. And clearly, the most effective weapon in this battle is the awareness to know that these tools is used by the enemy. These tools is used to destabilize the nation, to make us segregated and fragmented, you know, to spread the distrust amongst us. And we have to be aware of that, and we have to question what we see, what we hear, and we have to have some confidence and some faith in the national institutions we have, because they are the first line of defense against these things, and also our awareness of the usage of these tools and how to use it for the benefit of humanity and the benefit of our society and our nation. So yesterday the presentations was amazingly and immensely informative. One of the most brilliant things I've seen in years, that the making of fake videos and fake news, and how this could spread rumors, and how this could spread hatred.
Engineer Mohammed, also, if I may, the president had made very important remarks regarding the integrity of the Egyptian presidency, the state, as well as the Egyptian army. How do you see these remarks? How significant do you see them?
Definitely, they are very significant. Definitely, I mean, if you go talk to the people in the street, people do trust the president. People do trust the institutions. People do highly appreciate the president and the Egyptian army and police, because again, we've been combating terrorism since, you know, over the past 30 years, and especially in the past 6 or 7 years, we see daily combats, you know, and we see people who lose their lives, people who suffer from the terrorist attacks, and we saw how great progress that has been taking place. A few years ago, in the middle of Cairo, the capital, people used to plant bombs and used to target civilian entities with RPG attacks. Now we are safe. Now we're having international events. Yesterday we were around like 1,600 people celebrating, you know, and attending a conference with the president. And this is progress. And again, the greatest tool that the president uses is always his honesty and talking from the very bottom of his heart. You know, he's transparent, he's clear, he's sending clear messages, he opens his heart to the nation, and the nation feels that, and this is how you build bridges of confidence and trust between the leadership and the people.
Indeed, Engineer Mohammed Farid, member of the CPYP, we really appreciate your input, and thank you so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
And returning back to Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, Vice President of Global Youth Ambassadors Team. Dr. Ibrahim, we should see the opportunity that we do have a psychiatrist here. You have been to the youth conferences before in more than one edition. I'd like you to give me the impression of the youth participating after a meeting with the president. The sense of relief, the sense of trust. I mean, the way they are looking to what they have been through. Just let us know. I know it's a surprising question.
Yeah. In this sort of conference, you see in the eyes of the youth that the excitement, the aspiration, the ambition, the looking forward to what's coming next. During the conference, even if you see it on cameras, you can see how they are attentive to every word, how they are attentive to every question, how they can relate and communicate with each question being asked as if it's their own.
Yeah.
After the conference, so after the conclusion of the session, you can see. Well, it can be summarized in that one situation. I guess last year,
We have 1 minute, by the way.
in the World Youth Forum last year, when all the youth stood up and took a selfie with the president, and you can see how they were so delighted and so engaged for the first time, like you can say 100 years or something. A young Egyptian person like 20 or 21 years old from whatever place in Egypt gets to have a picture with the president among a crowd or 20 of them having a picture.
And really the smiles on their faces says a lot. Well, Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, Vice President of Global Youth Ambassadors Team, thank you very much for your input. Have a very good day.
Thank you very much.
And by this, we come to the end, Kareem.
Yes, indeed, dear viewers, by this we come to the end of this very special episode, tackling or highlighting the very successful 8th Youth Conference that took place yesterday. And dear viewers, you were in the company of myself, Kareem Gamaluddin, and my dear colleague, Nermeen Abdurrahman. Nermeen, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kareem. Tomorrow is another day with another crew. Stay tuned only on Nile TV International, always for more.